We are the new power generation. Everything we do, every move we make is powered by the energy we have drawn from the earth. Generating electricity from coal is very polluting and inefficient, and gas is on borrowed time as we're exposed to huge fluctuations in the cost of fuel imports. As our power demand grows, we need our electricity to become flexible, stable and secure for the future. Above all, it should be low in carbon emissions. Dependence on inefficient, carbon-intensive fossil fuel plants like Moneypoint leaves us with excessive CO2 emissions. While investments have been made in more efficient combined cycle gas plants, they are inflexible as a backup to wind power. The remote locations of our existing power plants means having to dump huge quantities of valuable heat into our rivers and seas.
These are major challenges. It's not clear for anyone what the right balance is, and recessionary times makes it even harder to move some of these things forward. In a counter way, it's an ideal time to move these things forward because the challenges facing us are going to enable us to run more stable systems, more economically friendly systems, more environmentally friendly systems. And if we can develop niche technologies, particularly in the area of wind and wave where Ireland has certain advantages, we can position this country to be ready to move forward.
We've now set important targets of 40% of all our power generation to come from renewable sources by 2020. As nearly all of this will have to come from wind, I talked to Michael Walsh of the IWEA.
We have a wonderful resource in Ireland, and at the moment we've 1,000 megawatts of wind installed on the system. To meet the 2020 target, we'd need to have 7,000 megawatts in total installed, and that means that from now until 2020 we need to take 50% of our current installed capacity and roll that out every year, but I'm confident we can do that.
Installing an additional 500 megawatts of wind power every year from now until 2020 is a daunting challenge.
I think we're going to do well in the next 2 or 3 years, but after that it's going to get more difficult.
It's predicted that by 2020, our electricity demand will have increased by about 40%, and most of this will have to come from wind power. To achieve this, we need a clear roadmap with carefully monitored interim targets. To encourage this clean, sustainable, domestically produced energy, it must be economically attractive to invest in, and this means getting our incentives right.
Traditionally in the past has been fossil fuel, gas-fired power stations, oil-fired power stations. In the future, with greater grid connections and with other options, we may be able to balance this better so that we can move our dependence away from fossil fuels, increase our renewables, increase our technology and move ourselves onto a much cleaner and sustainable path.
The grid needs urgent upgrading, along with 1,000 miles of new transmission lines. This creates huge challenges. I talked to Dermot Byrne about the logistics.
We're really at a crossroads. The government have set out very clearly their policy of 40% by 2020. So to get there requires, I suppose, all companies working together to make that happen. We in EirGrid have a particular role around connecting, around operating, and critically about developing the grid itself, the backbone of the power system that's able to take the generation from where it's generated to where it's needed.
But it's not just about large wind farms. We need to harness wind energy wherever we can, like Dundalk IT have successfully demonstrated. Community-owned embedded energy with single turbines up to 2 megawatts could be installed in every university campus and rural towns. If the right incentives were in place, there's a huge opportunity for farmers, rural householders and schools throughout Ireland to harness wind through microenergy. This means wind turbine sizes ranging from 2.5 to 50 kilowatts in size. To make this happen, an economically attractive tariff of at least 22 cents per kilowatt hour needs to be urgently put in place, along with an easy connection to the distribution grid, as is done all over Europe. This is long overdue and frustrating for so many people in rural Ireland. We're lucky to have this plentiful supply of clean, free energy passing over us, so why wouldn't we take full advantage of it?
What we really need to do, I suppose, is get everyone involved in what we're trying to do. Bringing 40% renewable energy into Ireland is going to have huge benefits for us as a society and an economy. We're seeing huge interest. People want to build micro-turbines, they want smart meters, and we have a big job ahead of us to engage with communities and to get that message and help people understand that better. be in a very difficult situation. We'll be getting about 90% of our energy from imported gas at that stage, and at the moment we're getting that largely from the UK, but that's not going to be available in 2020, so it'll be Russian gas, and we've seen over the last few months the risk that brings, and with our geographical location that'll be very dangerous for us. Of course we'll have the Corrib field on store by then, but that's really just a short-term solution that'll help us out a little bit. It won't protect us from high energy prices, and it'll be very, very dangerous for our economy. We're looking at more interconnection with the UK and ultimately with France and mainland Europe. It makes it easier to connect offshore wind farms. It means that we can better meet the needs of our own customers, but it also gives us the potential to have an export industry and to actually realise the benefits of our resources in Ireland and our skills in developing them, and sell that green energy on into Europe and England. What we need are for the state companies and the government to actually help make the regulations more simple and to make it more straightforward and quicker to develop wind in Ireland. And I think we need to work with the people in Ireland that are interested in seeing renewable development and help them become part of the transformation of our energy economy in Ireland.